So, you're going to watch a video, or hopefully you're going to watch a video, of me going to the forest. When I left the house, the sky was patchy, well not patchy, it was grey clouds, but there was holes in it, and the sun was shining through, and I thought to myself, if we go to the forest, we'll get them sort of sun rays coming in through the trees at odd places, and it'll make for an interesting composition. It'll help with the trees, and well, it would just work. But by the time we got to the forest, there was none of that. It was grey overhead completely. So you're going to see me shooting a couple of rivers and smoothing the water out at different speeds and having to move some grass, because you've got to watch the edges of your frame to make sure that there's nothing coming into your frame that doesn't need to be there. If you can move it, providing you don't do any damage. So I didn't do an ending for this video because it was coming out of the forest. It was fairly dark. I'm out now into the daylight. The sun has just set, and I'm just doing a wee intro, and there'll be no end. So when we walk out of the forest, it'll be all over. So like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of rubbish, and fingers crossed you like the video. Cheers. Talk to you soon. So I'm down at the river, and I'm just shooting a wee forest scene. I'm in the middle of a forest here. The light's not fantastic, so it's not. But that's nearly what you need for a forest scene. You're either going to have a nice light shining onto a subject among the chaos, or you're going to have subdued light. And today it's subdued light, which leaves me to be able to have a slow shutter speed, and I'm at this wee river that runs through the forest. I'll be able to slow the water down, and hopefully this makes for a nice scene with the overhanging trees. There's not too much in the distance, it's all fairly close by, with the water just bubbling past. So we'll set up, we'll tweak the composition, and then we'll give you a wee shout back in a second. Right. So I'm going to put on a polarizer and try and see a wee bit through the water. This is just a screw-on polarizer. It's a Firecrest one. If I can get it to go on. I have to be very gently with these screw-on ones. And go very gently with these screw-on ones. Now, you just give it a wee screw round until the main body of the water goes dark. If we're already focused, we'll just set our shutter speed again. We're at f11. We're fairly well composed to shot. As the water just running in from the bottom right of the frame up through the frame, and then the overhanging trees falling down. So we'll just take the shot and see how that one fares out. and then we might tweak it a wee bit as we go along. We're shooting fairly low. We're at 15 seconds because it's fairly dark in here. It's overcast outside and there's not very much light. Now, we have a little piece of grass poking in the bottom of the frame. I think it's this one here. So we'll just adjust that a little bit. And do that one there a little bit too, just in case. Just to keep the bottom of the frame nice and clean with the water going through. And we'll shoot it again. And with the open shutter for 15 seconds, it's letting the water run through the frame and everything's blurring on the way. All the water's getting a bit of movement. I would like to have shot this scene from the other side, but it's very messy here. And I think that there's pretty good. I'll flash that one up on the screen and let you see once it's edited, of course. Now it's fairly dark in here, so I'm not sure how much you can see, but I've recomposed the scene to include a little bit more of the foreground. These nice green ferns, especially with the polarizer on, a mix of greens really pop. There's a wee bit of grass here, although there's been a big flood recently, so a lot of it's all smoothed over. It'd be nicer if it had been standing up, but sure, you take what you can get. These ferns here, or these grassy sort of things, are nice here, and then the river flowing through again from right to left in the background. Now we've bumped our ISO a good bit to give us a bit of a shorter shutter speed, because sometimes if you go too long on your shutter speed when it's gloomy and dark like this, the water just turns to smoke and you get no real detail. So you want a wee bit, you know, you don't want to go into 20 seconds, you want to try and keep it as short as possible. The water will smooth out fairly easily. So you want to keep it sort of fairly fast shutter speed to try and freeze the water a little bit, so you have a bit of movement but not too much. But it's personal preference, to get each to their own. I've shot this a time or two, I'll shoot it again, and then hopefully I'll flash it up on the screen and let you see what it's like. Not bad. This is a large forest here in Garvagh, and they've recently done a lot of bike trails through it. It's very good, but it's not old. There are some old trees in it if you go deeper into the middle, but not very many. But it's still very nice, but it's very hard to find a composition in any kind of woodland unless you get really old gnarly trees. It's sort of hard to work composition for places like this. That's why I especially like that all the river. There's a mix for something to focus on, and then the movement in the water keeps everything nice. The sun's just setting out through the trees there, but there was no light came in. That's why we stuck with the river, because the gloom helps with smoothing out the water. Ideally, what you're looking for in a forest will be patches of light shining through, not bright blue sky where everything's lit. Sort of patches of light shining through the trees and casting shadows. But we weren't fortunate today with that. I think I'll scoot down into the bigger river here and have a wee nosy and see, but I'm not holding up much hope. So I'm not sure if you can actually see me or not. We found another composition here. It's not fantastic, but the light shining on the water is pretty cool. It's very good. The sun is setting out on the other side of the trees, and it's putting a glow, an orange glow on the water. Now I can't see the sun. I was hoping for a sun star somewhere in through the vegetation, but it hasn't happened. I would say the sun's probably on further round to the right there, past our composition. But the water, smoothing out the water and then leaving it nice and golden, it looks pretty cool with the green of the trees all hanging over the top. This one's 20 seconds because it's gloomy here too. We're at ISO 64, we're just smoothing the water completely out to get as much of that orange glow on the top of it as possible. We're still at F11 to try and get as much of the thing, or much of the composition in focus as possible too, from front to back. Although our first rock in our composition is fairly far in front, and we're shooting at almost 70 mil. We could probably do with putting on the 70 to 200 and going even further, but I think we're okay this here, and I'm scared of missing a sun star if it actually happens to appear. So we'll keep on shooting it, and we'll flash up the best one on the screen after a wee minute or two. Cheers.